Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Block Garage. I'm Brian, and we obviously have a ton more work to do on the 280Z. If you haven't been watching, this is my Datsun 280Z that I have been building, restoring for the past 2 years. We get basically 2 years of rust repair. We've recently painted the car in here in this garage, my first ever paint job, and now we're working on the 2JZ swap. I don't have some massive plans for today. So I think we're just going to pluck away at some smaller stuff and just see how it goes. We'll see how this weekend goes and see what we can get done. The first thing I think I want to do is finish the plumbing up of the turbo. So we've obviously got it mounted here. Last week we built this downpipe, my first time ever TIG welding stainless exhaust pipe, like my fourth time ever TIG welding. It's all right. It's in there. It'll hold. So I want to get that drain line made up so we can get that on there and not have to worry about ever taking the turbo off again, hopefully. So I got this kit from Drift Motion for plumbing the turbo. It's got a bunch of different stuff in here. We got fittings. Hopefully we got all the right fittings we need. And I've also got a kit for the pressure side too, with a little filter in it, just in case we get any metal shavings. We don't want to send them through the turbo because that is a freshly machined block. This is other stuff we don't need to worry about now. So it's pretty basic. We just got some line here, a couple AN fittings. This fitting should go on the turbo, I'm hoping we got the right one. So to make this as easy as possible, I think we're going to pop the center section of the turbo right off to make it give us as good access as we can. And before we do that, we got to pop the compressor housing off. I've got it loose because we've been messing around and we haven't clocked it exactly where it's going to go just yet. And for anybody that has not been watching right along, this is a Pulsar turbo. A 6262G is their part number. It is a knockoff of a Garrett G35-900. It's about a third of the cost of a Garrett turbo, and everything I saw, people have really good luck with them, so I figured I would try it out. And I believe it actually comes with a Garrett center housing, if I remember correctly. And it is a ball bearing turbo, not a journal turbo. So that'll give us better spool times. It'll better for high RPM, two-step, all that stuff, and it'll last longer. And I did go with, if you guys don't know, the T51R mod. So it modifies the compressor housing. You got this, see the slot here all the way around, to give more of a, it's kind of high-pitched-ish sound, but it makes the turbo way louder. I thought it would be cool, so we went with that. There's our center housing. So this is our drain right here. And this should be the correct drain fitting. And it definitely looks like it. Although it's going to be very tight around there. But let's grab a couple bolts and throw that in. Alright guys, well I have been struggling for quite a while trying to figure out how to get this oil drain line run. It obviously has to go from the bottom of the turbo here, right, down to our fitting down there. And I just cannot figure out how the heck you're supposed to do this. So I thought we could probably have, in my head, the drain come somewhere down here-ish, but it's just not possible because of the flange and everything. You'd have to have this compressor housing turned so much this way that it wouldn't be at a good angle. You have up to 15 degrees off of center line, so ideally you would have the feed line and the drain line completely vertical, but they give you up to 15 degrees because obviously it's basically impossible to do that, but you need to be as close to straight up and down as you can so that you don't get oil pooling, because the drain is just gravity fed. It's not pumped after the pressure of the engine gets reduced going through the turbo housing. So if you have it not close to vertical, it's not going to drain, and then you're going to get oil pooling up in the turbo. You're going to start blowing seals in the turbo, smoking, all that stuff. You don't want that. So I also tried And you can, without the compressor housing on there, you can get it to come like right here. But, you know, and then it could come down here. It would fit just fine. But once you put the compressor housing on, you can't, because I have to have this compressor housing pointing so far down so it's almost touching the runner here. I can go up a little bit more probably. That you can't get the fitting in line in there. It's literally not possible. So the only way that I found is to run a 90 off of there, because the kit came with a 90 and a 45. Ideally, you wouldn't run a 90. You really should run a 45 or a straight fitting, but it's not possible for me to do that. So for now, this is just me trying it out. I stuck it in there with a 90 on it and ran it down between the second and third runners. And then it could, oh, just hit my stomach on the hinge here. That thing sticks right out there. And then it'll come down here, and I'll probably have to grab another 90 to go on the oil pan right there. But, well then. But I don't like it. It's kind of, you know, you got the 90 right off the turbo, which is not ideal. And it almost, I can't tell if it's running uphill just a touch before it starts curving back down. Because you see it's touching, you know, the hose is touching the runner right now, but that doesn't matter because we'll pull the hose like this. You know, nothing's tight. The turbo's not tight, the fitting's not tight. So I don't know. If anybody has any tips, I really don't know what to do. I don't like any solution that I can find right now. So you guys that have done this before, familiar with 2JZ stuff, you know, maybe this manifold or similar style manifold, tell me how you did it, because I don't see how to do it any other way. So definitely looking for tips. But let's see about getting that feed line on there, because that doesn't really matter for what we're doing. I mean, it matters, but let's get that on there, I guess. Well, forget what I said about running the feed line, because apparently this kit is only for a GTE motor, where the oil feed is somewhere down here on the side of the block. Because it's obviously turbo from the factory, so they need that oil supply. However, you can't do that on the GE block. There's no way to get oil feed on this side. Even if you drill and tap that same boss on the block, apparently it's blocked off and does not get oil supply. So no matter what you do, apparently you cannot get oil feed off the block. You have to run off of oil sandwich adapter. So I've already got that there, right? We already have that installed. But that just means that this kit was basically useless to me, or at least this line. We'll see about the drain if we can come up with something like that. But that's clearly not going to reach around that side of the block. But at least we did get this filter for the oil feed, because we're definitely going to want to run that. So I got that anyway. Maybe we'll use those lines for something else. But anyways, so I did see online, I was doing some more research, asked some people on Facebook about that, if that oil drain would work. And I mean, to be honest, most people says absolutely not. Some people say yes. So I'm going to try something else, because somebody gave me a good idea of maybe using a spacer, turbo spacer, basically a spacer to go between the manifold and the turbine housing, space it up about an inch. That might give me enough clearance to run a 45, so we're going to try that real quick. All right, we'll pop this thing off here. I mean, this is only the 5,782nd time I've taken this turbo off today, so whatever, it's not a big deal to do it one more time. All right, I got a piece of wood that's about an inch in here just to simulate our spacer. I threw the turbo back together. We got no way to hold it on because the studs aren't long enough, but let's see what happens here with a 45. Gotta get it lined up too, somewhere right about there. You know, that actually gives us a ton more room for our compressor outlet here too. I think that spacer might be the trick, because that, like I said, gives us way more room for our compressor outlet. We can still send that back if we need to. I'm wondering, can we send it forward though? Let's see. It'd be better to send it forward. But you'd need a 90 on there, wouldn't you? Yeah, with that spaced up, that actually gives us tons of room. Plenty of room for this 45 to go backwards. I did try to send it forward here, but that's about as far over as it could go to get the line. So the line would have to go, you know, somewhere in here. That's about as far as we could get over and not be resting against this runner. And that puts our compressor housing, you know, right about there, and that's too close. I can't fit that. There's no way to get the outlet in there. Well, unless I trim that back a ton. It's still gonna be really tight. But it will go back here, so I think that's the plan. I think we'll pick up one of those spacers about an inch. That'll give us plenty of clearance. It gives us way more clearance for this once that fitting is sent backwards. We will just have to make sure we really heat wrap that line, because I don't want, obviously, that to melt and start leaking oil, cause a fire, or something like that. But that is, I believe, the best solution. The turbo's still well below, so the hood will clear. So unless somebody has a better solution, maybe a different type of drain line. It's going to be 10 AN though, at least. So I believe that's what we're going to do though. But let's do something else. I am sick of messing with this turbo, and you know, I've basically got nothing done today. So let's do something a little different. So here's what we're going to try to do now. I've got this sway bar kit here for a 240Z that I got from Godzilla Raceworks. We're going to try and get that installed. It should just bolt right on, right to our apex suspension. And I will show you why we went with a 240 kit instead of a 280 kit. Let's get this thing opened up and lay everything out, see what we got. Looks like hardware, bracket kit, etc. Another one. I'm assuming one's front, one's rear. We got a bar and a bar. So, I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory kit. There's not too much to a sway bar. What do we got here? Oh, stickers. You know where those are going. So this kit is from Suspension Techniques. It's a pretty common upgrade when you do the sway bars on S30 car. There are, I believe there's other ones available, but this seems to be what most people go with. Okay, so this must be the rear kit, because it's got these, you got these uprights for the stock suspension, you know, from the factory. It looks like they send you some to replace them. We won't be using these because they're not needed with the Apex kit. So just a quick overview of everything that comes in the kit. You can buy just a front kit, just a rear kit. This is obviously the full kit. The thicker one goes on the front. It's a 1-inch bar. The 3/4 inch bar goes on the rear. It comes with everything you need. The mounting bushings with the bracket, all of the bushings to go on the end links. It comes with grease. Same with the rear. Like we mentioned before, it comes with these brackets for the rear that we will not be using. I mean, it's a sway bar. It's a pretty straightforward installation. You should just be able to pop your old one off, pop the new one on, be ready to go. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take these, we're going to grease them up inside, put them around where they go on there, and we're going to go bolt it on the car. So we'll start with the front. We're going to get the car, well, the rest of the way up in the air. It's already up, but we're going to raise it up full height. Get the front wheels off. You know what? Do we even need to get the front wheels off? Yeah, we'll take the front wheels off anyway. Probably give you guys a better view, and then we'll get this installed. And actually, now that I just think about it, we don't even need the end links that come with this, because the Apex kit comes with its own end links that this should bolt right up to. Let's try it out. Let's get these bushings on and greased. So we'll just spread some grease. Be pretty liberal with it on there. Just pop these on there, work the grease around a little bit. We'll wipe the excess off after. Now, one thing I'm going to do, since we have painted this car, is I'm going to run a thread tracer up through our mounting holes, because it's probably full of paint. All right, I'll throw this up in there. Now we should be able to just take these apex end links apart. Get this nut tightened down first. Now I purposely left everything loose until we got everything together just to make it easier. That way we'll tighten everything up all at the same time, including the mounts on the frame rail there. It's a bit different of a setup here on the apex end links because your bolt goes all the way down through and there's a nut on the bottom, which is what squishes your end links, but then it also, the bolt threads down into this piece here. So I'm assuming we tighten this down as much as we want, and then we just tighten the whole thing down into that other piece of the end link down there that connects to the control arm. Definitely want to get these parts nice and tight. And yeah, this definitely would have been a lot easier to do with it on the bench. And then we'll just tighten this up. Now, the apex kit, you see we got 5 different holes here that you can mount your sway bar end link in. That depends on how low you are, basically to keep the right angle. For now, since I don't know, we're just going to put it in the middle one. Also, the rest of this stuff is not even tight because I haven't adjusted the suspension at all. We're going to do that once the car's basically built, so we got full weight in it. That'll do for now. I probably didn't need to tighten this one down now, but whatever. And we'll just tighten these down. Not take them out. We're going to tighten them down. There we go. Front is all done. All in. Easy install. I did have one issue. If you guys have been watching, you remember I cut this open and completely replaced the mount for the sway bar on the inside here because they're known to get rusty, and hard cornering, you'll pull the sway bar right out. And you pull the bolts right out because they get so rusty. And I rebuilt that. Apparently when I did it, I used 10mm nuts instead of 8mm from the factory, so it made things a little bit tight. I had to find some other bolts. Not a big deal. Just made it a little bit tight getting the bolts tightened down because you can't get a socket in there. It hits on the mount, but not a big deal. If you haven't done that, you aren't into any issues. So let's get to work on the rear. Oh, I just noticed we never put our stickers on the toolbox. How'd you let me forget that? All right, second day. Let's get this rear suspension installed. We'll get the fire going. It's another chilly day out here. You know, we're definitely coming into winter. And actually, somebody gave me this Renai heater here. You know, this little propane thing. You know, it works really nice. I got it just hooked up to this little grill propane tank, and you know, it's pretty simple. It seems to heat way better than that. If you guys remember that propane shop heater I used to have up there before we had the wood stove. It's definitely not as loud either, but these are supposed to be really efficient, so I'll probably run it supplementary. I've just been trying it out the last couple of days, really. But anyways, enough of that. Let's throw the rear sway bar on. Well, it is just a weekend of part issues, so we're not going to be installing the rear sway bar because the kit came with the wrong bushings. It came apparently with 2 sets of bushings in the size for the front sway bar. So the front bar is about 1 inch, and the rear bar is about 3/4 of an inch. And you can see these bushings do not fit. And they came out of the rear kit. This is the rear kit. They came out of that bag. The front bushings are definitely correct. I double checked that I didn't somehow get the smaller bushings in the front, but nope. So I guess we'll put this away. I already messaged them to see what they'll do about it. I would hope they'd take care of it. If not, bushings aren't that expensive, I guess. But yeah, so we got that. We got the turbo drain line and feed line not fitting, having to do something different there. I had another big part issue that I don't want to go over just yet because I want to see how they're going to fix it. But you guys, I'll probably talk about it in a future video, just depending on how good of a job they do at taking care of that. So while we're here, though, I might as well show you what I was talking about, why we went with the 240Z kit instead of the 280Z. There's a difference. So the 240Z kit, the sway bar goes around the back. It mounts right here, or you'd have those uprights on the stock suspension, the ones that we get the replacements one with the kit. The 280Z goes around the front here and mounts, somewhere here. It's right here. There's a bracket right here. If you guys can see that. See this bracket right here? So the 240Z or 280Z bar goes around the front and mounts in this bracket here. However, since we built those extended frame rails, see right here, that's our part of the frame rail that connects to the rear frame rails, you know, the rear frame stuff in the back, would not be able to get the sway bar through there. I could have notched this, but since I knew that the 240Z went around the back, that just eliminates all problems. So that's why we're going with a 240Z style sway bar kit. So just an FYI for you guys. I guess let me pack that up and we'll find something else to do. All right, well, let's see if we can get something installed today. We got our oil cooler here, which we've looked at before, and I think we're going to mount it between the intercooler and the radiator. There's tons of space there. So first step, let's get this intercooler off real quick. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. I had originally thought maybe we mount it down here because it would be, fairly easy to set it down there. But we've already got holes with riv nuts in here for the intercooler. I had put these in way before, just a random spot so we can make a bracket, and they don't line up at all with this. So I'd have to build this up. Plus, you got this here. I'd have to build it up too. It won't set down on there flat, which is easily doable. We could do that. But then I got looking, what if we put it up here? That's up out of the way. I don't have to mess with my already made intercooler brackets. And I think I can just riv nut it right here. So we're going to start with that. And the problem is I can only get one of, there's 2 bolt holes in here on each end. I can only get one of them. So it might not be solid enough. So we're going to start with that. And then if that doesn't work, either we'll put a plate on here so we can get, 2, or we'll build a bracket down here for the bottom so that we got support top and bottom. But let's start with just a riv nut on the top and bottom. Now, I'll see if I can get this up in there. I might have to take the radiator out. Yeah, I'm going to take the radiator out. Let me do that real quick. Oh, let's see how much this actually tightens down and how solid it is. Wow, it's actually way more solid than I anticipated. Am I happy with that? Because it wouldn't take that much to build a bracket from here down to our mounting point down here. Do I think that that's going to cause an issue? Ooh, let me think on it. So here's what I came up with. made two little brackets to go on top. You can see basically this is just going to bolt on here like this. It's still going to bolt through to our rib nut here, but it's also going to bolt to our rib nut that I put in right here. I put two so that we got a different angle to hold it. So I think this will work good. You can see I can actually do some decent TIG welds. And actually, I'm thinking about it. See, I slotted these, so that way I can adjust it up and down this way just to make sure I get it at the right angle without, having to make that hole incredibly large. So we can start the bolts in here first. It is a little tight to get these bolts in there. Well, that should be nice and solid. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that is nice and solid. I think that's going to work well. I don't think we're going to have to worry about kneading anything on the bottom. Let's see if we can't loosen these ones back up and get that to stand up just a little bit more. Yeah, mint. Very happy with that. So after this, I will take those brackets off, and throw some paint on them, but they're good enough for now. Let's throw a radiator back in. And there we go. We actually got something done today. Not like everything else where we have part issues or whatever. Been a bad weekend for part issues, but we did get the oil cooler in. Like I mentioned, I'm going to take these brackets back off and throw some paint on them. We definitely don't want to leave those bare steel. And I definitely think that'll be fine. I mean, it's solid. It's solid. It should not be coming off there, vibrating loose or anything like that. We'll get a little more support just from the hoses once they're run. But, they're going to run probably this way, probably through here, I'm guessing, and down to our oil sandwich plate adapter. And speaking of that, so I've kind of been, if you guys have been watching, I haven't been running lines and everything except for when we started doing it on the turbo. But, I haven't run any fuel lines up here. I haven't mounted my fuel pressure regulator. I haven't run any brake lines, which I'm going to do. That's kind of irrelevant to my point I'm making. But, we haven't done any coolant lines. None of that stuff. All the stuff that's going to be done out of AN, my plan is to get everything mounted, just like this oil cooler here. Figure out exactly how much AN lines I need, what fittings I need, all of that stuff, so that I don't just go and order a bunch of crap that I don't need, or, don't order enough lines, stuff like that. We're going to need to run fuel lines from the tank all the way up here. So maybe we'll do that soon. We do need to do that because we need to modify the fuel tank to fit our fuel pump assembly. I'll get into exactly what we're doing. It's pretty cool. But my point is that I'm planning on doing maybe a plumbing day for everything. We'll do AN lines and fittings for our oil cooler. Our turbo should be fine to do on its own. I do have a longer feed line coming and a different drain line because those are pre-made. Do the AN lines for the oil cooler and the AN lines for the fuel system. Anything else that needs it all at once. That'd be kind of cool. Just do a plumbing day. So that's kind of my plan and kind of what I've been holding off. Measure everything, figure out what we need, and order it once. So, yeah, I guess we're gonna call it here for the weekend. We got a little positive out of this. We got the front sway bar installed. Can't get the rear. Got figured out hopefully what we need to do for the turbo lines. And it's a good thing we didn't start making our intercooler pipes and stuff like that, because if we're moving that turbo up, they would have to be redone. I'm gonna have to lengthen the downpipe, but that shouldn't be bad. Basically chop it in the middle, put an inch section just to lengthen it. That should be pretty easy to do. Oh, what else? Obviously, we're going to be doing intercooler pipes pretty soon, but I'm thinking we do have some stuff that still needs to be mounted in the car. You know, I can run the hood release bracket out here and throw the hood latch on. I do need to get a different throttle cable. I ordered one. Actually, is that right here somewhere? What did I do with that? Ah, right there, see it? So I ordered this. It's kind of a universal one. It's actually for an LS swap. I thought it would work. You know, this end would go through the firewall. I'd have to drill a hole for the pin here. But one, it ended up being way longer than I anticipated. I measured, and I would have to snake it quite a bit to get it to fit, so I don't want to do that. And it doesn't 100% fit right on here, although I think I could make it. I could make it fit, but the fact that it doesn't fit and it's longer than I would like, we'll probably go with something else. But it's only like $10, so you know, it's not, that's why I tried it out, because I thought it might work. Anyways, we got stuff coming up. Every weekend we're getting closer and closer to getting the 2J Datsun running. As usual, leave some comments. Let me know what you guys think. They really, really help. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know if you do anything different. I am still open to different options on turbo routing. I wonder, actually, you know what? Can I rotate? Yeah. It is possible. While we're talking about this, let me grab something. So if I clock the turbo that way, that leaves room for our drain line to come out here instead of being pinched off. Like if we put that down there, our drain line cannot come out this way. There's no room. But if we put this up, somebody mentioned this. I can trim that back there, obviously. I mean, there's no need to have that on if we're putting an elbow on. If we did, let's say we did that. That puts our elbow right about there. That is an option. We might play around with that. But let's see what happens with the drain line that I got coming in and that spacer, because I did order a spacer. So, I don't know. Custom work. We'll see what happens. I'm thinking aesthetic. Well, actually, it wouldn't be that bad. To have that come off of here, run right there, right basically to this hole, because when I have it down here, it's going to have to come here and up. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, let's see. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think, though, because that is an option that I had not thought of before until somebody mentioned it on Facebook. You know, the 2J groups on there are actually really, really helpful. Got a ton of comments helping me figure out this drain line situation. But yeah, we're gonna end it off here. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, like the video, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time.